always knew I would make this video, especially after everything that happened. It's almost been 2 years since the video about LE SSERAFIM's last trilogy, and it's time for a sequel. If you haven't seen it yet, I do recommend checking it out. I think it's a very important video of mine, and it's going to help you understand more of this topic. My opinions on LE SSERAFIM have definitely altered over their last few releases, whether positive or negative. But one thing remains: they are a group worth talking about. Just like last time, it's the way they integrate their personal experiences into their concepts and themes that makes them stand out. They may not be everyone's favorite group, but dare I say we all should be looking at them. LE SSERAFIM can be a little more intricate than most, a group that leaves itself open to interpretation. And with that, I'd just like to remind everyone that most of what I'll say is based on my observations, but I'd still love to hear what you think, so feel free to share yours in the comments. But in my conclusion, this is a topic that deserves to be discussed, one that most of us need to hear, and I'd love you guys to see what I've got. Enough said, this will be another look into one of K-pop's most prominent groups today. My name is Winterosi, and you're about to watch a video about LE SSERAFIM. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the video.
Don't stop going on my line.
In the previous part, we explored the power of choice, the necessity of making tough decisions, and moving forward without fear. LE SSERAFIM encourages us not to run from these moments but to face them head-on, telling us that growth begins with challenge. It's a difficult path, but one they've taken too, extending a hand to those still hesitant to begin. What sets this new trilogy apart is how personal it feels. Unlike the previous, which offered pretty direct advice to listeners, this one feels more like a conversation with themselves, a moment of introspection. Rather than offering solutions, they reflect on their journey, confronting ambition, acknowledging vulnerability, and coming to terms with both their strength and their weaknesses. Through this lens, we see a raw and honest portrayal of their reality. Their confidence is still there, but it wavers under pressure. Their ambition is admirable, yet at times too much for them. Still, they don't shy away from the truth. This isn't a fall from grace story, but a reflection of real life. And in facing it all, they show what real strength looks like.
私がまたチャンスをつかんで気分が悪い 나만 계속 운이 좋은 것 같아서 화가 나니? 세상에 우리한테 마시는 거 아니?
You think it's okay to degrade someone just because they're true to themselves?
運がいい人たちは悪口を言われてもいいの? 그럼 내가 진짜 비밀을 알려줄게.
세상은 누구에게나 공평하게 추악해.
結局私たちはみんな死ぬわけだし人生の半分は苦しみだろう
겨우 남은 절반은 우리가 하기 나름이지.
LE SSERAFIM steps into this new chapter with heads held high, urging us to confront the difficult truths. Behind the confidence and striking presence lies a journey that was never easy from the start. Life is tough, that much everyone knows. But what sets them apart is they are driven. Despite all the words hurled their way, all this jealousy, hatred, and doubt have become friends. They've witnessed the world's ugliness, and they've come to know it well.
私はこの事実に少し早く気づいた
The pain of facing that truth.
불이 꺼진 스테이지 뒤 세상의 모든 그림자들이 나를 덮쳐
Inferiority.
순위,成績あなたが無造作に吐き出す言葉
It's a common misconception that things have always been easy for them, caused by their early and consistent success. But life is unpredictable, sometimes offering luck, other times hardships, and at the end of the day, LE SSERAFIM are no exception. Were they lucky? Yes. Did they face struggles? Absolutely. LE SSERAFIM have carried themselves with such grace that many assume everything comes effortlessly to them, but that's far from the truth. They've seen the reality, and that has made their path lighter. Plus, they are fueled by the fire inside them, a solid foundation that made them endure the harshest weather. So when life gets difficult, they make it easy.
Easy, crazy, hard, I can make it. Easy, crazy, hard, I can make it.
But how does one do it? How does one make it easy? That's the thing. You can't. And they couldn't as well. The only thing you can do is make it look easy.
다친데도 길을 걸어 kiss me 쉽지 않은 내가 쉽게 easy 스테이지 위엔 불이 튼 내 body Pull up and I'll repeat on play ballet Damn I really make it look easy
In the first two songs alone, we know the inner dilemma LE SSERAFIM faces. They embody a paradox, balancing strength with vulnerability, which is something that'll be emphasized more as we go. While Easy exudes an air of confidence, there's a subtle tension woven throughout the song. The song goes between the desire to appear untouchable and the reality of struggling. As the song unfolds, it becomes clear. Easy isn't just about embracing strength. It's about learning to resolve inner conflicts while moving forward.
나의 발걸음은 매 순간의 story 이건 my way 영웅처럼 걸어 even if I am not flawless
편하게 너와 뜨고 날 몰라봤다면 you have to know I've been trying so long to show you
The album may start strong and confident, but as it progresses, we begin to see the other side of the coin. What initially feels like a boastful message reveals an underlying sense of uncertainty, showing that it's much more nuanced than it first appears. Every mirror reflects two views, and LE SSERAFIM's music shows us both sides of their reflection, what they show the world, and what they carry within. One of my favorite characters ever has to be the Black Swan. Be it from the movie or the ballet, the Black Swan has always intrigued me. In the original Swan Lake, the ballet, the Black Swan is a deception. Prince Siegfried is in love with Odette, the beautiful white swan cursed by Rothbart. By day, she lives as a swan, and only true love can break the curse. Rothbart, however, deceives the prince by sending his daughter, Odile, disguised as Odette. She's the Black Swan. The prince, deceived by the illusion, declares his love to the wrong woman, sealing their fate. The curse can no longer be undone. The prince, realizing his mistake, rushes to Odette, and in a final act of defiance, they both leap into the lake, choosing death together. In the movie, Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan, we follow Nina, a ballerina who plays the role of both the White Swan and the Black Swan. Throughout her practices and struggles to achieve the perfect performance, she loses herself. Her obsession with perfection harms those around her, from family to friends, all because she had one goal. In the final act of the performance, she achieves it, that perfection, but at the great cost of her own life. In a way, LE SSERAFIM mirrors Nina's struggle. They too constantly chase after the perfect performance, risking losing themselves along the way. Or perhaps more like Odile, presenting an illusion of perfection and beauty. Or perhaps both, idols who push themselves too hard, but hides it in front of the cameras and smile like everything is fine. Just like swans paddling their little feet below the water, while looking the most elegant above, they appear to be a hard-working, ambitious group, effortlessly achieving their goals.
숨가쁘지마 Black Swan I'm like Black Swan I'm like 해도 힘든 swim 그럼에도 계속해서 kill these waves now Black Swan I'm like Black Swan I'm like 의심해도 be enough flame 노래 불러
They push themselves to the limit while hiding the struggle behind smiles and polished performances, just like swans, who paddle furiously beneath the water while gliding gracefully above. But as long as they know their path, they can swim wherever their hearts desire. One trick to making it look effortless is to know your goals. Smart is the usual LE SSERAFIM song we all know and love, as it's a song they sing with undeniable conviction. We all know the popular saying is to work smart and not hard, but what if both were necessary? LE SSERAFIM tells us that achieving what you want requires both the strategy and the courage to endure the challenges. Yes, you may know the direction to your destination, but you must also be ready to face the harsh conditions.
Work hard in secret, 아끼가 착착맞게 up and back. Don't be mad. plan대로라면 난 될 수가 없지 그 loser.
This is the confidence we've come to expect from this group. Losing is not an option. It's all about winning for them. They know that it won't be an easy walk, but having that spirit, the good bones, they move forward. No matter what you throw at them, they're on their route to victory.
I'm a smarter, baby, smarter. Smarter, baby, smarter. 하나 보면 열까지 간파해서 돌까지. Wanna be a winner. Wanna be a winner. Get back there, 끝까지 넌 나비가 될 애쓰니. I'm smarter, baby.
It's always the talks about moving forward, making the decision, doing what you love, but never how to survive. This album offers a response to unanswered questions. If it's hard, make it look easy. If you're flawed, wear it with perfection.
나비가 될 애쓰니. I'm smarter, baby.
우리 강아지가 너무 보고 싶어.
싫어?
잠깐이라도 껴안고 싶어.
그냥 참아. 시간 날 때 보면 되지. 더 중요한 게 있잖아. I keep craving Greek yogurt. I swear I could live off it for the rest of my life.
アレルギーあるんでしょ？食べて具合が悪くなったらどうするの？
編み物してると時間が経つのも忘れちゃう。
You've got time for that? You have so many more important things to do.
It's easy to be seen as the odd one out, often just for doing what feels right to you. Following your own path should be normal, but judgmental eyes tend to follow, casting doubt on even your smallest choices. The envious, the insecure, they can't always accept that. And there's no better parallel than being an idol in this industry. In the path on chasing your dreams, you are told to stay put and do nothing. The previous trilogy told us to look the other way and move forward. But even if you conquer your own fears, the world around you remains uncertain, like the weather.
그렇다면 번개를 좀
소리나라. 이나즈마 오니까
Chasing lightning.
망설이지 말고 설렘을 따르는 거야.
今を変えるの。今立っているこの地を変えてみせる。
Change the ground.
Change the world, but we just chase lightning 'cause we wanna chase lightning. We can't change the world, but we just chase lightning 'cause we wanna chase lightning.
LE SSERAFIM says, if you can't change the weather, just chase the lightning. Doing what you love makes you the most alive. They encourage us to stop hesitating and embrace who we truly are. Step into the storm. Walk into the rain. If you feel like playing with your dog, take him outside. Craving Greek yogurt? Go have some. Want to crochet for no reason at all? Do it, even if you're busy. Because those little things you love, they make you feel alive. Don't let anyone else dictate your joy. Only you can set yourself free enough to go crazy.
Act like an angel, dressed like crazy.
Crazy is just as much an inspiring song as it is a party anthem. Had it been produced in a more serious or uplifting sounding genre, it probably wouldn't have hit the same way. Crazy being a not-so-serious song elaborates the message LE SSERAFIM wants us to hear. Let go, embrace the chaos, and go crazy.
스스로 심판의 매일 속에서
Want to know why Galileo was mentioned in the lyrics? Well, today is your lucky day. If you may or may not know, Galileo was an Italian scientist who basically discovered a lot of important stuff, most notably regarding space. And he believed in heliocentrism, the concept that the Earth moved around the sun. This was opposed to the Church's beliefs, which at the time were the major political and cultural power across Europe. Galileo openly spoke about his ideas, which angered the Church leaders as it contradicted their teachings. Eventually, he was put on trial for heresy, teaching something opposed to the Church's. He was then punished for it, but that didn't stop him from believing his ideas. There's even a famous story, probably a legend, that after he publicly admitted he was wrong, Galileo muttered under his breath, "And yet it moves," implying that he still believes his truth. Today, he's celebrated as the father of modern science. And guess what? The Earth does move. Being different makes you weird, and that gets you looks from people. This song is for the dreamers out there who live in a world that doesn't welcome change. So be weird, have fun, go crazy. Let them stare and let them laugh.
Good girl 인형이 되려 속이 텅 빈 풍선 같은 월 Sometime blow it up, boot up, make you pop 달릴 준비되니 with my girls
Piero, much like Crazy, is a deep song disguised as a high-energy anthem. It continues over the last two songs' message of letting loose, ignoring the naysayers, and continuing to chase what you sought. We don't exactly know LE SSERAFIM's dreams, but after watching their latest documentary, one thing's clear: they are aiming high. They want to be the girl group everyone talks about and loves. They're striving to reach the heights of the legends who came before them. The title Piero is actually a character, who has much layered symbolism. In this context, I'd like to believe Piero as both the standbys that judge us for our choices, and ourselves as well. Piero is usually portrayed as a clown, but he's no ordinary one. He's a sad clown, hiding behind makeup and a mask. In many ways, he represents the people who judge us. They're the ones hiding their insecurities, projecting their fear and resentment onto those bold enough to take risks. And LE SSERAFIM calls these people clowns for doing so. But Piero is also us. He's the dreamer who dared, but failed to reach it. He's a symbol of loneliness and broken dreams. He expresses the weight of ambition and the pain that sometimes follows. Piero reflects a lot of us. We're naive in our ways, lost chasing dreams that might not even be real. We laugh through the gloom, cover the pain with a smile, but keep playing the part, like fools wrapped in the fantasy we created for ourselves.
Who's next? 새 시대의 crazy girls 내가 뭘 더 겁내 몰라 이제 계획 따윈 영 새 것처럼 정말 속으론 오늘만은 going dumb 우린 그냥 do it cause it's fun That's my girl 내일 푸른 문제 같은
The deeper we analyze the song, or just the trilogy in general, the more we realize cracks in the wall. Everything has its shadow. After telling us to go crazy, LE SSERAFIM stops us right at our tracks with Piero, and especially the last song of the album.
미치고 싶은데 눈치 보느라 이미 늦은 듯해 오늘 좋은 화면 속 그녀를 쫓아다니다 끝나버리긴 싫어
Ironic how the song titled Crazier is much toned down compared to what came before it, but maybe that was the point. Truthfully speaking, the themes we've discussed so far were already present in the previous trilogy. We've already talked about self-doubt and how often we're our own worst enemy. We've discussed the fear of uncertainty and how that holds us back. And we've seen that behind the fearless persona, there is a fragile soul afraid of falling apart. I knew I was bound to make a video about this new trilogy, but after initial impressions, I thought I would be wasting my time. I thought that it was just going to be the same thing all over again. Believe in yourself. Love yourself. Don't be afraid. All important ideas, sure, but I wasn't convinced there was anything new worth saying. Until we get to Crazier, which, in my opinion, from here on out, the trilogy really develops itself.
다 같으니 뭘 알겠어 그 말 앞에 모서리 다 흐리는 널 놓고 싶지 않아 어릴 저 꿈의 끝자락
The song's message isn't all that different from what we've seen, but Crazier still has its fair share of realizations. The quiet sorrow in their words reflects the heart of this song. It's not just about chasing dreams, but grieving the parts of yourself lost in the process. That line, jealous of being able to go crazy, speaks to a bittersweet longing for a time when their passion was pure. Even through sorrow and self-doubt, they still choose love, for a dream or themselves, and that choice isn't foolish, it's brave.
I'm crazy for feeling more. 미칠 수 있다는 건 그런 건 Cause you're in love. What's crazier than loving more? 미치지 못한 my youth, still beautiful.
The messages of the previous tracks were almost too good to be true, maybe even unrealistic. And while I do love to hear over-the-top inspiration as much as anyone, I do appreciate a little bit of realistic answers. Sometimes what we need is honesty, not just ideals, but the truth.
아직은 뭔가 이렇게 이 그룹이 짱이야 라고 얘기할 수 있는 타이밍은 아닌 것 같아요, 사실. 그렇지만 앞으로 르세라핌이 르세라핌이 정말 잘 되고 싶어요. 이 걸그룹들 중에 제일 멋있는 퍼포먼스를 보여드릴 수 있는 팀, 그리고 저희만의 이야기를 할 수 있는 팀, 그런 유일한 팀이 되고 싶어요.
We have one album left to close off the trilogy, but before we head there, we have to look back on how we got to this point. LE SSERAFIM has had a rough journey, to say the least. After a very solid and well-received first set of comebacks, it was time for a second series. All things considered, the first album was a success, but it is impossible to ignore the backlash they received. Their comeback was ambitious, and the change in direction caught people off guard. They wanted to show a new side of themselves, and some people simply didn't appreciate it. Then came the plagiarism accusations, questions about the group's creative direction. None of it is ideal. Still, LE SSERAFIM managed to bounce back. Then came Coachella, arguably the biggest moment in their career, just for all the wrong reasons that you probably know of already. Least to say, it was the most furious set of weeks K-pop has seen in a while. It was all over social media, it was on the news, even non-fans were talking about it. The narrative turned dark so fast, with some going as far as to call them a national embarrassment. Unfortunately, that's just how fast things can spiral in this industry, especially in K-pop. And yet it was overblown. After that, the group understandably kept a low profile. They had to, yet they couldn't seem to catch a break. The Hybe and Adore controversy emerged, and consequently, LE SSERAFIM got their name caught up in it as well, even adding more fuel to the fire. Time went on, and another documentary of theirs was released, one that showed their struggles behind the scenes. You'd expect a bit more sympathy this time, maybe even compassion. Instead, the fire only got worse. Later on, the Crazy album was released. This time it was a more familiar side of the group, and perhaps it was a nice effort that could gain the public's trust back. But honestly, the damage has already been done. There's probably a lot I missed, but even if I told you everything I know, it still wouldn't capture the full picture or the weight of what really happened. And if I saw that as an observer, I just wonder how it was for them. Throughout the year, they stayed quiet. Sure, songs gained traction, and they had some good moments, but you could tell something was different. That's why I wanted to go back to their second documentary. Even though it wasn't documenting this exact trilogy's releases, it gives important context. An honest look at how they were doing just before Easy dropped, and in general, shows us how these girls have handled their careers and lives so far after deciding to join this team. In the previous trilogy, we were told that the future is uncertain, and this time, we're finally shown what that unsure future looks like. In summary, The documentary reveals to us the girls' hunger for greatness. They hyperventilate mid-performance, panic during rehearsals, doubt their talents, yet they keep pushing. They all want to achieve something. Yoonjin wants to create music that truly touches people. Yoonchae wants to find joy on stage. Zuha continues to sharpen her skills. They're all charging towards something bigger, and it almost looks effortless. They'll chase their dreams, no matter what others say. They will be the winner. But ambition comes with risk.
요즘에 뭔가 팬분들도 훨씬 많아졌고 뭔가 대중분들이 좋아하는 얼굴이 있고 행동이 있고 그런 이미지가 있다 보니까 뭔가 저도 모르게 거기에 맞추려고 하고 뭔가 비교하게 되고 내 모습과 약간 지금 내 모습은 어떤지 계속 뭔가 비교를 하게 되고
지금은 좋은데 나중에 더 많은 사람들이 르세라핌이라는 팀을 알게 되면 그때는 어떨지 잘 모르겠어요. 네.
부담이 커질 수도 있고.
네, 부담이 커지면서 또 그게 비례하는 안 좋은 시선도.
Perhaps too much ambition can be threatening. They fear gaining more fans, as more attention could bring more negativity. They worry about being misunderstood once they show a different or more vulnerable side. It got to a point that even after making the bold choice, they still question whether becoming idols was the right path to begin with.
아이돌이 진짜 제가 제일 잘하는 직업이었을까? 라는 생각? 뭔가 잘못됐을 때나 실수할 때나 뭔가 저의 한계를 느낄 때 내가 굳이 아이돌을 안 해도 더 잘하는 사람들이 했어도 됐을 텐데 라고 생각할 때가 있어요.
Eventually, all those fears became reality. And just like that, we're back at the beginning. They made their choice. They understood the weight of that decision, and were ready to face the unknown. They burned the bridge behind them, refusing to look back. But what if the journey was too much? What if the decision was wrong all along? What if you want to turn back but can't? How do you go back when you've already burned everything? When you've invested everything and gotten nothing in return? On stage, they are the stars. But outside, in the real world, what are they? Who are they? What do you do now? In the first two albums, LE SSERAFIM gives us hope, an escape from all the negativity the world gives us, a distraction, an illusion. Maybe their mistake was believing that they could outrun the truth of the world, and their greed for greatness and their thirst for love weren't enough. If they wanted to keep moving, they must not cling to this version of themselves. They're as much of a beaten-down doll as anything else, fearful, fragile, and defeated. To move forward, they needed to become something greater. They have to break everything, an opportunity to let go. Tear it all down, reset, be reborn, reignite, and rise.
하나의 불이 태어났다.
The flame engulfed the silence, splitting apart the dark.
火は届かない太陽の幻を追いかけて大きくなった。
The final album in the trilogy, Hot, stands apart from everything LE SSERAFIM has released before. Not only is it musically distinct, but it's also an album that exposes a more vulnerable side, as opposed to the usual strong image they have. And yet, that's exactly what makes it the most powerful of them all. This intro paints us the whole picture. For a long time, they've been unstoppable, the girls on fire. 5 individuals with a sole goal, to reach the top with nothing stopping them. A relentless flame refusing to burn out. They reached for the stars, hoping to shine even brighter. But like Icarus, who flew too close to the sun, they went down. On their way, they burned too hot, consumed themselves, and collapsed into ashes. A paradoxical existence. It's the story of an overly ambitious spirit, one that used up all its fuel before reaching their true potential. For the first time, LE SSERAFIM tells us the truth of the path ahead. Sometimes it's your own fire, or the weight of others, or maybe even both that drags you down. But that doesn't stop them. Their fire didn't go out, because they are the flame. The fire was never just around them, it's always been inside. The fire of passion wanting to do what they love. The fire of determination, the strength to get through it all. The fire of anger towards those who've wronged them. And in that silence, one tiny breath, one tiny ember, is all it takes to spark a new fire. The name of the sky, etched onto the soul. The fire awakens again from the ashes as a kindling. And at last,
The flame is born.
self-realization is more difficult than it seems. It takes real courage to face your mistakes. Through time, their fire went down, and in some ways it was their fault. Pushing yourself too hard is as dangerous as keeping yourself comfortable. Leave a flame unattended and it fades. Force it to burn non-stop and it becomes dangerous.
11 전사들 내 침대 위 맴돌 때난 성냥을 켠 채 까만 밤에 잠겨서서 원해 나약함을 걷어 새롭게 하소서.
In the wave of pain, they turn to ash. Cold and still, the ash represents the part of themselves they had to let go. The fire may be out, but the spark isn't, and sometimes that's all it takes to reignite the flame. They are reborn. They have another opportunity to get through this. Not to burn recklessly, but to burn wisely. They carry the lessons they've learned from their past lives. The only thing certain in life is death, but if you're still in it, life doesn't stop unless you want it to. Whenever you may be broken down, hurt, and helpless, you can redo it all. Keep what you've learned and try again is the message. In the dark, you can light up your torch. In this new life, you have the opportunity to right your wrongs. As long as you're breathing, as long as that spark's within you, you're still alive. Even when the ashes fall, if your flame remembers, you will rise again.
아름다운 new life 세상에게 쏟아나는 순간 덮치는 보정 끝에 just 새로워진 나를 spend my ways like oh 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 I pursue like oh 세상에서 새롭게 되어 나 nothing lasts forever baby 올라도 바라게 불길 속에 남을 나의 발자취 like oh oh oh.
That leads us to Hot, the final title track of this roller coaster of a trilogy. Hot is said to be LE SSERAFIM's first romantic song, about the passion of sacrificing everything for the person they love. But with how this trilogy unfolded, I doubt that is the case. Perhaps it is for the person they love, but I'd rather believe that other person would be their old selves. We discussed how the fear of letting go and choosing to move on hinders us from ever reaching our full potential. Looking at it now, we're still telling a similar message. To move forward, we have to let go of the version of ourselves we once hoped to bring into our dreams.
익숙해진다면 I'm burning high 내가 나로 살 수 있다면 제가 된대도 난 좋아 So tonight I'm gonna put my lips Bonnie and Clyde Oh, not running for me, not running for me 불타오르지 I love it 살게 나 I'm burning high.
In this song, they compare themselves to a phoenix. A phoenix symbolizes many things, but is more known for one: rebirth. It burns itself to ashes, only to rise again. This album couldn't be more fitting as the finale, especially after everything they've gone through these past months. Knowing what they felt after debuting as a team, it's the story of a group too afraid of drowning, only to finally face the truth. The idea of rebirth symbolizes starting over, healing after losing, and finding strength through the suffering. And not to get too personal, but watching the documentary made me emotional. It wasn't my first time watching a behind look into an idol's life, nor is it the saddest thing I've ever seen, but it did move me. And now, After knowing all the album's intricacies and messages, it stings even more. But it's much less sad and more proud. I couldn't truly comprehend the struggles they've gone through because I know I wouldn't survive. That's why I admire them so much. Having this be the final album makes the entire trilogy feel poetic. Whether planned or not, it unfolded beautifully. Starting a trilogy with overflowing confidence, then confronting the harsh realities, to finally finding yourself in the darkness, couldn't have been more perfect. If there's anything we've learned, it's that life is an endless battle with unpredictable outcomes. It is harsh, that's the truth. The first trilogy painted an uncertain but hopeful picture, suggesting that the right choices could lead you somewhere beautiful. But this final chapter reminds us that life doesn't always work that way. It's not a fairy tale. Being courageous and kind won't get you to meet the prince, or have you sing along with the animals, and always finding the good out there. It's unfortunately not the Cinderella story we all want. If anything, it's more like Mulan's journey, facing adversity, disguising herself as a soldier, fighting to protect what she loves only to stumble, fail, and learn. And through that, becoming someone stronger, someone real to herself. That's how I saw this trilogy in my eyes, the rebirth after hitting rock bottom, the fall from power then reclaiming it, but most importantly, healing what's been broken down. But now that they've reached this point, the question is, what comes next? Well, sorry to give you an anticlimactic answer, but we do it all over again. Themes like these don't fade, they repeat, because that's how life works. Who knows, maybe LE SSERAFIM has even more bold choices to make in the future. Perhaps they might even have to rebuild themselves after more mistakes. No one knows, right? That's the part of it. Just like how we don't know what their next trilogy is about. Although it may be uncertain, there is some things we know. LE SSERAFIM will continue to release more music, pull off performances, and entertain people. Knowing these girls and their story, I'm sure they'll be showing us more. This is a group that is meant to burn, and that says enough. And in relation to life, we may not know what's ahead, but one thing's for sure, you still have the power to make a choice. And sometimes it's the choice to face ourselves and rebuild from there. We may not control what life throws at us, but we can control what we do with it. If life hits us hard, we make it look easy. If the weather turns brutal, we don't run, we chase the lightning. And when the fire burns out, we don't panic, because the flame lives in us, and we will rise again.
Easy, crazy.